So, hello, welcome back to the Talkoffamepod with your host, Kylie Montigney. And on today's episode of the podcast, we're joined by Luke Waite, who is a singer-songwriter where we talk about his music goals, his new single, Narcissist, how he started out, and much more on this episode of the podcast. Thanks so much for joining, Luke. I'm super happy for you to join today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So, you just released a brand new single called Narcissist, where it's available on all streaming platforms. What is a lyric that you think is the most powerful in the song? Like, do you have like a favorite lyric or thing is like
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
defines the song the most?
So I really like the bridge. I have it pulled up here in front of me. It says, "And now that you're gone, feels like I can move on, let go of the past, and find real friends that last." I think that's like the big hitting moment for me, especially while writing it. So basically, the song is just about a girl that I was friends with, um, who had some narcissistic tendencies, that I was a little bit oblivious to throughout the course of our friendship. And so I ended up writing a song about it. So
Ooh, that's crazy. I like once I heard that song, I was like, oh my God, it literally describes me so well. Because like obviously,
yeah,
like when you are in a friendship like that, it's obviously like, what do I do with myself? Like, do I want to be friends with
exactly.
that person, or like how do I actually
Exactly.
feel in this position with that friend?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, how did you kind of like deal with that? I have to ask you. Like, it was being in that position, like how did you kind of deal with that? Because I was in the exact same position. I was like kind of curious on how you got like kind of deal.
Um, yeah, I don't think I handled it super well at the beginning, just because it was very much a new um kind of experience for me. I think at the beginning it was really hard for me because it felt I like I was the problem, and that the things that she was doing was because of things that I was doing, if that makes sense. And so really the best coping mechanism for me is songwriting. And I don't think I really processed it until after. So this all happened last, everything happened, let's see, it was last fall, so like over a year ago, and then into last spring. So just about a year ago, everything was kind of finishing. And then last summer was when I was kind of coping, going through the process of trying to figure out all of these feelings and kind of just reconstruct this idea of self um, after everything happened. Yeah. So I would say for me, it was the songwriting process was my kind of going through the whole thing and figuring it all out, I guess. That's what I would
Like
say.
that's why songwriting is so important though, because like
Yeah,
obviously when you go through something like that, it's literally so difficult. Like you do not know
right.
what to do, but like songwriting is just like a big thing to kind of write down your feelings in terms of how
Mhm.
you're feeling. That's why it's so
Absolutely.
important, not only in writing but music itself, because every song has its own meaning. Not because
Exactly.
some people don't think like, oh, that song doesn't have a meaning, why should I connect to it? You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like
Exactly.
even though like when you go through hard times like that, like I understand I've been in that position a million times, and like sometimes you're like, what do I do in that position?
Hmm.
Like how am I supposed to become a better person if she's treating me like this or he's treating me like this?
Exactly. Yeah.
But like, how
Spot
would
on.
you describe a neuroscience? Like, how would you describe the song or like
Like a person that's a narcissist, or like the song itself.
either one, either.
Um, I guess I'll do, I'll answer both. I'll answer. Um, so for me, a narcissist is a person who, um, kind of has this quality about them where like they go, um, and like basically they try and do a lot of things for attention.
Yeah.
And when you're friends with somebody like that, you're just obviously, everybody deserves attention. But I think what they try and do is they try and gaslight you into, um, you know, giving all of your attention to this person. So, like for me, it was um, this person I became really close friends with in our friend group. Um, and, we were spending a lot of time together. We all lived in the same dorm. I'm in college. I don't know if I mentioned that, but so we all lived in the same dorm together. Um, And, as we're hanging out, obviously, like I could tell like she was working through some things. So I felt like I should, you know, be there for her and like let her open up. And so it felt like as time was progressing, she would take up all my time and all of my energy when it came to, being there for people and trying to be a support system. And so for me, a narcissist is somebody who really just kind of abuses the attention that you can give someone in a friendship. So they just, I don't know, they like suck out your whole soul. Like you have nothing left. They try and take everything out of you in order to feel better about themselves. The song itself, let's see, it's kind of just this angsty, angry, like ballad of feelings and emotions towards this person because I knew that if I kept it inside me, I wouldn't be able to go forward. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I think, like I said, songwriting is my therapy. And so, just being able to write it all out and be able to have this message sent out to people who go through similar things, I think was very much reassuring for me in my situation. So,
Like you're exactly right because like even though like these some people are like desperate for attention, like some people
exactly.
are kind of like want to have that specific person's attention, whether it's like a parent or sibling or even
Hmm.
a boyfriend or girlfriend, they always kind of like want that attention, make up this like make themselves happy, or just
Absolutely.
desperately want someone to be in their life to make themselves happy. Because they think like for some people, I can't speak for everyone, but I know a lot of people want to get happiness from one specific person, even
Right,
though
right.
like you have to make happiness for your own self, not based off of one
Exactly.
person. And like sometimes, like when you are like in that position where like you try to give attention to that person, like it's just like very much draining in a way. It's very much
Exactly.
like exhausting me. Sometimes like you just want to be there for that person, but at the
Right.
same time, like you just I don't know what to do. Like I do not know
Yeah.
how to kind of say to that what she's like what the person is saying. Like sometimes you don't know like what to say in that position. But then like
Hmm.
at the same time, like you're just like I want to help her or him, but then at the same time you're like I
I've
am
got to put myself first.
yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. I think that's where the line kind of falls is that it's like when, like the difference between, a narcissistic abusive relationship and just like a normal healthy friendship, I think is when those boundaries get pushed. And, when you have those firm boundaries set in that friendship, like, hey, I need some space. I need to take a step back. I need to focus on myself for a little bit. I need a little bit of a break. And in a healthy relationship or a healthy friendship, they'd be like, great, okay, that's perfect. Like take some space. And if you need anything, let me know. We'll regroup, just take some time apart. But I feel like when you get into a narcissistic relationship or friendship, that's when they're, you know, still pushing those boundaries in order to get attention. When they're like, hey, like, I don't care if you need space, or I'm going to respect that. But, anyways, I'm going to, take some more energy out of you, get my attention than I need. So,
And like, is there like any specific artist, I don't know if say artist, but like, or a person that you get like inspiration from for music or just life
oh,
in general? Because I know like
absolutely.
for me, it's like
Absolutely.
so many people.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of Taylor Swift.
Mm,
Who isn't, right?
mm,
Um, her album Reputation is, I think, a big inspiration for me. It's one of my favorite albums, and I think that this song is very much like the essence of Reputation, like
mm,
just the anger, the angst, the energy, and the fuel. But yeah, I would say she's one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to songwriting and just like music and performance in general. So
Like, did you get tickets to see her on tour? Or you like, did you?
absolutely,
Oh, you
absolutely, I
did?
did.
What
I'm going to
show?
see her in Denver in July.
Oh, Denver?
So
Oh,
yeah.
you're so jealous. Like, me and my dad want to see her so bad. Like my dad
Oh,
is like talking about it nonstop to see her. Like,
oh yeah, I'm very excited. It's gonna
yeah,
be
my
awesome.
family is like the biggest like Swiftie to exist.
Oh yeah,
Nobody said
as they should be, as they should be.
for sure. Like like by the way, like you said earlier, like what college you go to?
So excuse me, I go to Utah State University.
Ooh.
It's Logan, Utah. It's pretty cool. I'm studying music. I just finished my second year. I finished my last final today, so we're finally at summer now.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so yeah, I have 2 more years and I'm studying music and composition. So I'm a like my instrument is singing, like voice, and then taking piano and guitar and then composition. So which is songwriting.
Like, are you originally from Utah or are you like from like out
Yeah,
of state?
yeah. So I've lived in Utah my whole life. I'm from Salt Lake City. And so it's the state school, pretty close enough to home. So yeah, just Utah State University, like hour and a half from my house. So
Ooh, that's actually not bad. Like at least like you
no,
can go
yeah.
home at least like every weekend or whatever since it's very
Yeah,
close.
exactly.
It's like
Yeah.
much
When I need a
easier
break.
than like being like 5 hours away, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. So
But
it
like
works out really well.
you know, like how did you get started in music first of all? Like how did you get started?
So I originally started, I guess, my musical journey in theater. I was in theater for five years. So I started theater when I was in eighth grade. It's like the junior high theater department, and then I did this little community theater, and then I did high school theater. And I was always very much drawn just to like the musical aspect of the shows. I wouldn't say I was very much as drawn to acting. Um, and so with the music, I was like, cool, I think it'd be so cool to write my own music. And I think over the course of like, let's see, I probably started songwriting in either ninth or 10th grade. So freshman and sophomore year, that's when I was kind of starting writing music for the first time. And by music, it was more just like writing poems and like things that I was feeling and trying to, dip my feet in the water and do some rhyme schemes and
Mhm.
just little things like that. Being like, oh, I'm so cool. I know how to write music, but it wasn't really like an instrument. Like I didn't know how to play any instruments. All I could do was sing. So then it was I was probably 16, 17 when I actually wrote my first song on piano. Um, and that one I don't have released. It's called Be Like You. It's a song that I've written for one of my cousins who's just a big role model for me. And then I probably wrote, so the first song I released is called Heart of Gold that I wrote with one of my friends in high school. Her name's Madison Voss, and she did all the guitar and I did the lyrics. And then my first solo single that I released is called Waiting My Turn. And that one I released in July of 2022. Yeah, so almost a year ago. Yeah, almost a year ago. So definitely long time in the making to finally get to where I am and now studying music in college. So yeah.
Like, do you think like being in theater, like, do you like has helped you like become a songwriter? Like, if you didn't do
Mm.
theater, like, do you think you would ever become a songwriter, or is it kind of was like, oh, I was already kind of like into like music before that? You type.
Yeah. I think I've always been really passionate about music. I think my path, like my route of my musical journey would be very different. Because I seem to write more songs that have more musical theater inspiration, it feels like. um, which has its pros and cons. But I think if I hadn't done theater, I probably wouldn't be as passionate about music as I am. Because I think that was very much like a foundational step to being where I am, if that makes sense.
Like, do you still do theater in college, or was it kind of like a high school type of thing?
Yeah, pretty much just high school. I took um, a tech shop class. It was like what's it called? It's called I can't remember. The name slips my mind, but it's just like a not necessarily like intro to theater, but it was like a theater tech class
Mm.
that I was like, oh, I should just try this to get my art credit taken care of for school. Um, but I didn't really end up liking it as much as I thought, and I wasn't doing any more community theater, so it's kind of faded out of my life. I don't know if I would go back. I don't know. It would probably take a lot for me to go back to it. I think it's kind of been a chapter that I've closed in my life.
Like
So
even though like you did it for so many years, it's like in one part of your life they did it for so many years. It's like, okay, this is long gone after I graduate. This is all gone.
right. I mean, I do miss it occasionally, but I don't know if I would go through the headache and a lot of frustration that I experienced with it, but I wouldn't change it if that makes sense.
Like with like this whole podcast, like I have no idea. Like I graduated 2 years of high school, and like sometimes I'm like, do I want to do this going to college, or do I want to
Right.
do it like throughout college? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, no,
obviously,
for
but
sure.
the resume, like it's a big thing with
Hmm.
podcasting, all these things you do in high school. But then you're like, do I actually want to do this in college, or do I just want to keep it in the past in high school and
Right.
then
No,
see how
absolutely.
things go? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And like to go back earlier, like who's like some of your favorite artists? Like I had a one to like ask you. It's obviously you're a musician
Ooh,
and play music.
yeah.
Who's some of your favorite artists? I know
Um,
one of them has to be Taylor
Taylor
Swift.
Swift up there, of course. Lately I've been listening to a lot of Sabrina Carpenter. Her new album's really good. Um, I'm also listening to Rule. He's like an Australian pop singer. I really like his music. Um, I've been listening to, let's look at my music library here while I'm thinking about it.
Like
I'm
on my like
listening
Spotify
to,
playlist, there's like 900 songs in it. Like it's honestly
geez,
so bad. I listen to
that's
everything like
crazy.
country, pop, rap, hip hop,
Oh
everything.
yeah. Labyrinth. I don't know if you're familiar with Labyrinth. Labyrinth, he wrote a lot of the soundtracks for some shows, and he has some really cool music. I really like his instrumental, so that for me is like a big thing. When I listen to music, obviously the lyrics are pretty important as well for
Mm-hmm.
me. Billie Eilish,
Oh, love
love
Billie
her.
Eilish.
Lizzie McAlpine, she's kind of up and coming a little bit. She has a song called Ceilings that's pretty popular now on TikTok, but she's definitely a very inspirational artist as well. Um, Alec Benjamin, he's more of like an acoustic pop singer who he does a lot more lyrical stuff, I find, more than instrumental um, that I prefer, if that makes sense. Just like I feel like my music taste divides based on instrumental and lyrics. Um, but obviously like the through line is emotion. So I think it depends on the day what I'm feeling. But I would say those are kind of like my pretty consistent artists that I listen to a lot. So
Yeah, those are actually some good artists, like especially like
yeah.
Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish. Like they're so
Yeah.
good. These like based off of like their songs. Like I'm the person that likes upbeat type of songs that has like a
Oh
good
yeah.
like, beat and good lyrics to it. Because obviously
Hmm.
most of the songs I like, I've noticed I like to dance to it. Like I've noticed
Hmm.
like if it's upbeat, then I'm most likely to like it. But some songs I do like if it doesn't have an upbeat, but depends on the day. Like sometimes I'm like,
No,
oh,
yeah,
I'm a
definitely
dancey
depends.
mood, but sometimes I'm like, I just want a sad song to listen to. Like it all
No,
depends on the
definitely.
day who I want to listen to, especially if it's
Right.
like Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift, or some of those country people. I'm a big country music fan, so
Mm,
anything that's like pop or country related, I'm basically into or
there
anything.
you go. That's great.
But like, what is something like you wish like you knew or did when you first started singing and songwriting? Like, what is something you wish you knew? Like, well, for
Ooh,
me, like, there's so many things I wish I knew when I started. Like, there's so many things I did wrong that I wish I
yeah.
did now.
No, definitely. I think I have three key takeaways that are my big things. The first being you're your biggest you are your own biggest critic. So whatever you think is bad isn't probably that bad. You're just very picky. And I'm a perfectionist, so that doesn't help. But
Same
I
here.
think, I've received a lot of great feedback from my music. And I always I think beat myself up a little bit about like how it sounds or like the production value or like what the words are. So I think that's a big one. The second being just like take my time and not rush. Because I think sometimes I build these deadlines for myself and um, then they kind of fall through and then I feel disappointed. And so I think just taking my time, knowing that like this is all part of the process. Um, and the third being specifically with songwriting, just like write for myself, write my story. Don't try and um, copy or, you know, try and duplicate somebody else's work or story, because I think sometimes I have this thought that I'm like, okay, well, if I want it to be a popular song, it needs to mirror like this story or this structure or this kind of sound. And so I think just writing for myself specifically, like even with songs, like I think sometimes I write for a target audience rather than for myself. So I think just working on trying to write for myself would be a big thing that I wish I could have told myself. And I think that would have maybe sped up the process a little bit on, the frustration that I experienced while writing.
Yeah, like those are actually great like things to remember because like we sometimes like a lot of us, even if it's sports or entertainment or
Hmm.
whatever industry you are in or want to be in, sometimes you just feel like you need to rush yourself to become so
Right.
popular.
Yeah,
Even
to
though
be
you
the
might be in
best
high
or
school or college or as an adult, like sometimes you're like, oh, I need to be this age to become a songwriter or an actor
yeah.
or become
Yeah.
successful. And sometimes you're like, oh, like how do I become like this person? Is there like music is so popular that how do I become so popular that I think I should copy it? You know what I
Mm.
mean? So, but sometimes you're like, why am I thinking like that? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
how like it's my of course like you want to be your own success, but then at the same time you're like, I don't know how to become a success. Like how am I supposed
Hmm.
to get success if I do not know how to do it? You know, like it's
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
how do you kind of get off that mindset? Like how did you kind of get that mindset in doing all those things? And basically just being yourself and basically being on your own pace and your own time. Because obviously like sometimes like it's very stressful to go through a deadline or
Right.
on all these things.
I don't know if I've quite figured it out, to be honest.
Mm.
I think it's such a long process. And I don't think social media helps very much with that, because I know
Oh
I
yeah.
compare myself to a lot of other artists that are my age or, in their early 20s, just looking at like, you see Olivia Rodrigo, who's, 2 months older than me. And I'm like, wow, she's released an album, she's won Grammys, she's done all these things. And I go, well, I'm her age. Like, what's wrong? Like, why am I not doing that? I think just some of the things I tell myself is that it's like, everybody is their own person, has their own individual story. And I know there's countless stories of people who found success later in their life and, didn't necessarily know what they want to do until they were like in their 30s, their 40s. So I guess just my advice would be like, you know, trust yourself and um, just find something that you're really passionate about and really work at it, even though there's other people who might be better at it than you. But like if you work hard enough and you love it and you're very committed to it, like it doesn't really matter how good you are at it, because if you're more passionate, obviously that's going to put you at an advantage over people who maybe are just naturally gifted at certain things. So I think just, having something that you're passionate about and just trusting the process that like if this is something I really want, like I'm going to make it happen for myself no matter the timeline. I think that's just what I usually tell myself is that it's like, I want this to happen for me. I want to make it in the music industry. I just have to, focus on what I'm doing and really devote time and energy to it and hope for the best, like it should
Mm.
work out. But, at the end of the day, just have like a backup plan just in case.
Yeah, like honestly, like I like for me, like I always like do not have a backup plan. Like
Mm,
even though because like a lot of people, including me, always want that thing, the first plan of your list to like work out. That you do not have a backup plan in case it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like
right.
because
Yeah.
sometimes like you're like, oh, I'm gonna work so hard that I can't sleep at night. Like that's how
Hmm.
my model is exactly. I work
No,
so
yeah.
hard, 8 a.m. to like 10 o'clock at night, and then sleep the rest of the night. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
sometimes you're like a lot of people, including me, like to work their butt off to basically work
Hmm.
out. But a lot of people don't see that success or work hard as kind of like a success or um
Hmm.
like see it working out, like stuff like that.
Right.
But sometimes
I
like
think,
even though like when you have this plan, like, oh, I become so successful, or why is this person more popular than me? Like, why is this person that's my age doing the same thing I am more successful and more popular in their field, in our field than me? Like, why is that?
hmm Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally understand all of that. Something that my parents tell me a lot is, follow your dreams and don't chase after the money, because I think
Mm.
sometimes the money can become a distraction.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's something that's really changed my perspective, is that it's like if you follow your dreams and you work at it, the money will come. But if you chase the money, I think that's really where it's all going to fall apart. And I think dreams can also be adaptable. I mean,
Mhm.
originally it was theater for me. I wanted to be an actor, and now we're here 5, 8 years later, whatever it ends up being. And, now it's music. And maybe 5 years from now, it'll be, just a producer or own a recording studio or something. So I think, as long as I, just focus on the dream, the goal, and I'm working towards that, I think it's also important to realize that like it can change, whether that's like I want to raise a family or I want to have this really big career. I think, at any point it could change, and that's okay. It's just part of life, and I think part of growing. So,
Like you're exactly right because obviously like I like what you said earlier because that like money like is not a big thing. Of course it's a big thing in some ways to be able
right,
to do things, but like
right,
a lot of people like when they are have a job or whatever it is, like sometimes people rather like even though it's their dream job, they really kind of focus on the money rather than what they're doing each day.
right, right.
Is that like it was much rather getting the experience rather than the money you get each time you're
Exactly.
working. Because I know like a lot of people really like to focus on the money, but like then like you have to think like money does not define success at all. No matter
Right.
how much you get paid or if it's an unpaid job, as long as you're getting experience and learning, that's the
Hmm.
best part of it. Like who cares about
Exactly.
money? Because money doesn't buy happiness, money doesn't define success. It's all about putting the time and dedication to what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Of course, like
Absolutely.
money is such a big thing into living, but then like in terms of
The
living
value of
and
it, yeah. The
yeah.
value of it is based on how society has defined it. But in terms of happiness and what and joy and love and success, like you said, is not determined by money or like the number.
Like, how do like you grow as an artist? I know for you it takes a lot of time and dedication, but like, how do you like take time to grow as a person, and even as an artist? Like, how do you take time? Because I know for me it's hard to kind of balance all that stuff in
Yeah.
terms of doing my like doing things outside work and all these things.
Yeah. I think some like specifically things that I do, I think just taking time to live, experience the moment, spending time with friends. I think a lot of the things that I write about are from experiences that I've had and not just like some constructed story. So I think all of my music is really based on real experience. So the best thing that I can do to grow as an artist and as a person is just, experience things, the good and the bad, and feel the feelings, the emotions, and have the good days and bad days, and the music will come throughout that. So
And like, where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? Like, do you see yourself becoming a big songwriter, like some big artist? Like, I know it's like a long-term goal, but I did not know where I want to be in 5, 10 years. But like, where do you kind of have like a vision for yourself? Like, I know it's kind
um
of be like, oh, I have no idea what to do, like what to say.
yeah, I'm a planner. I'm a very big planner. I like to plan things out to the T. Um, so I'll be graduated from college in 5 years. I hope to have some job in the field, whether that's, just playing some, you know, venues and like touring, or I don't know. I hope to have at least an album released by then, hopefully two. Um, I don't know. I feel like I define my success on experience. So by me saying like
Mhm.
5 to 10 years, I'm like listing off my bucket list of things I want to do in the next 5 to 10 years, if that makes sense. Just like, you know, things I've never done. I want to, have my own album on vinyl, or, you know, release a music video, or I don't know, do a collaboration with one of my role models or mentors. And um I don't know. I think that's a tough question. I think there's a lot of things I want to do in the next 5 to 10 years, but I think saying that I want them to be done in the next 5 to 10 years kind of decreases the value of how important they are. I feel like
Mm.
the
Yeah.
construct of time is complicated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because like even if it's like a year plan, like you will not know where you see yourself until it actually happens.
Right. Exactly.
And like, what
So,
is like some advice for upcoming singer-songwriters are just starting out? I know you're starting kind of out as well, like, but like
mhm.
based off experience and stuff, like what is some advice for singer-songwriters that are starting out?
Um, Soak up as much knowledge as you can about the things that you're passionate about. Um, if you want to be a songwriter, I think listen to a lot of music. Talk to people who are songwriters. I think social media is a great way of doing that. Just sending information back and forth and ideas, just sharing ideas. For me, I think one thing that helped me most was talking to my friend Madison, who had released some music. So just getting on the right track, I think, is the best thing that you can do. So just soak up as much information, whether that's like through YouTube or, learn some instruments or, take a poetry class or whatever. I think that is like the best thing that you can be doing is just investing in the information and the knowledge and the experiences. And if you want to do it, you can do it.
And so
So
like
that's it.
no matter what, like even though like, you might be a small artist, there's always much time to learn. Even though you might not
Exactly.
be as big as you want to be, of course, but
Hmm.
then like it takes time to become big.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
like Taylor Swift didn't become big in like 2 months, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
And she's had her ups and downs.
yeah, everyone else are ups and downs an artist, no matter what. Like no one's famous in a day. Success doesn't come
Hmm.
overnight. It takes
At
time, no
least
matter
not
days,
long-term
months, and
famous,
stuff.
you know.
Yeah, it doesn't happen in a matter of hours or days. It takes
Right.
months or even years to come to success. Like I've been doing this
Exactly.
podcast for 2 years and like I know where I want to be. Like no matter how long it takes, like it just like it takes time to come where you want to
Hmm.
be, you know.
Right. Absolutely.
And I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was such a pleasure talking with you. I can't wait to
Yeah,
see where
thank
you
you.
go next couple of years, and I can't wait to see all
Yeah.
you do. And I look forward to more music from you. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I would love time with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great.
Of course. Have a great rest of your day. I
You too.
thank you so much.
Thanks.